and welcome everybody to this 15th episode of the Maternity and Midwifery Hour. My name's Sue Macdonald. I'm the curator for this hour and for the Maternity and Midwifery Festivals. It's my delight, absolute delight, to be with you this evening. And it's slightly different this evening, and you'll notice we had the wonderful midwifery ambassadors with us singing and that was the Over the Rainbow, which was done for charity, and it was just lovely to see all those midwives and hear those beautiful, beautiful voices. So thank you to all of them, and I know some of them are watching, so we'll say hello to you all. And I'm also delighted to be joined by a small selection, because we're limited. We can't really have like 50 people, but we have a small selection of our special friends and previous guests from this last year. So we have Dr. Jenny Hall, we have Nicolette Porter, we have Dianne Garland, we have Sheena Byrom OBE, and Professor Jacqueline Dunkley-Bent OBE. And I'm going to put them all on the spot now and ask them to share what their favourite Christmas food is. Just one. We'll start with Dianne, who's muted.
Brussels sprouts. I absolutely adore Brussels sprouts.
Okay. I don't. Okay, Jenny, how about you?
All of it. No, cranberry sauce and roast potatoes.
Ooh,
and
yum.
parsnips. That's all of it.
No, you only allowed one.
Oh, cranberry sauce. I have it all year anyway.
Okay, thank you. How about Nicolette?
I think for me, it'll be pigs and blankets.
Pigs and blankets. Oh, wonderful. And how about Sheena?
I think mince pies. Mince pies. My sister makes the most amazing mince pies. And yeah, she was on the One Show actually once doing them. Ooh. And so, yeah, I love mince pies.
Wonderful. Okay. And Jackie?
Oh, it has to be Christmas pudding.
Christmas pudding.
Any pudding, but Christmas pudding.
Oh, fantastic. Well, thank you for that. That's wonderful. So we're now feeling a bit peckish and in the mood. So if you're watching and you've got access to a glass of wine or a cup of tea or whatever, you can start sort of thinking about your Christmas festive eatering. And so I'm just going to share a few slides. This is to keep me on my toes, really. And this should work nicely, hopefully. I usually make my speakers do all of this without me having to do it. So I'm just starting with a few little reflections on the last year, because it feels like a very fast year this year, actually. And I just thought this is what has kind of overseen everything, which is the COVID virus, which is even now messing things up for people. And, you know, the infection rates are going up hugely. So I'm going to often repeat these things. Look after yourself, stay safe as much as you can with you and your loved ones, because it's difficult times. And it's very tiring times, I think. Ugh, horrible. It looks so pretty too. So we started with sort of lockdown, and I always think about these images because what's important, though everyone was closed, or it felt like everywhere was closed, of course, the maternity services carried on, as we have to do, because mums and babies come to us all year round. Babies still get born, mums still need that care. And I think one of the fantastic things over the year was that the creative ways that midwives worked to make sure that care was delivered safely and it was at a high quality and mothers felt looked after and well cared for. So that was quite a big thing. So the images for me are of all of these, you know, the PPE, but obviously the computers, because a lot of care was given through not Zooms, through the Microsoft Teams to try and get mums to feel as though they could contact their midwife. And I always think about this because obviously the Maternity and Midwifery Hour, which is I have a special place in my heart for, we started in response to the pandemic, and we really wanted to provide CPD, continuing professional development, information and the linkage for midwives, for students and other people in maternity services, including mums and dads actually, and doulas and maternity care support workers, And I know we have a lot of people from all over the world, and welcome to you. And I'm really pleased you've joined us this evening. And we've basically had every Wednesday, 7 till 8, and we're carrying on. And we're just now preparing for series 6. And we've had some absolutely fantastic speakers. I couldn't even choose my favorite, but we are going to have a sort of a number one hit parade in the new year of all the videos and clips that you like best. So I won't have to choose my favorite, because I can't, because they're all so special and fantastic. So we've had continuity of care. It's been a big theme. We've had infant feeding. We've had, really importantly, culture, race and bias. And we've had a lot about education and the student perspective. So it's been really rich for the participants who've joined us. It's been great. And we've also had the festivals, which have been mostly online. We've started doing some hybrid sessions. So we had Cardiff and Edinburgh. You'll see pictured there. Fantastic. Was wonderful to have face-to-face contact with some midwives and student midwives. And I think the midwives really enjoyed it, and the student midwives, obviously. It was all COVID compliant. We had all our fancy masks and all our hand sanitizer, and we were all socially distanced. So it was very good. But of course, we can always move on to being online if we need to, because we've got that flexibility. And it does mean wherever you are, you can join us, which is fantastic. But if you want to come to London, here we have London. I'm not sure if we'll get that particular view, but it'll be there for there. And I'm just sort of highlighting that, and I know many of you will be feeling this, these services, we're under stress, we're under pressure. There's a lot in the media about there's not enough midwives. We've known that for a long time. And actually the pressure is really hard. The strength and creativity has been fantastic, but also we do need to look after ourselves. We've got lots of different ways of working, and I suspect that one or two of our speakers might talk about continuity, because that's been a very strong theme, again, not just through sharing the hour, but some of the speakers who've been able to share their service changes and the things they've been able to do through COVID pandemic. But what I want to really say, because I think it's really important, that we need to look after our teams. We need to look after each other. We need to look after ourselves, making sure people are getting enough rest and recreation and using all the resources that are around. And I don't know if the wobble rooms are as active as they were, but I hope they are. And if they're not, you need to recharge them, because that's really important to have space for yourself, relaxation for yourself, and then all the mental health strategies that we need as practitioners and as people to keep going, because there's a lot on everybody. And women especially, but I know men do this as well. We're all jugglers, and we're juggling with everything, and we need to take care of ourselves. We also need to look at very much at increasing midwife numbers, but also making sure we keep the people we've got. That's really key. So I'm reiterating that kindness is crucial, right from the top to our colleagues, to ourselves, and to our students, so we can all be there. And I just want to say a big thank you to you for joining us on these hours, but also thanking you for all the things that you're doing, each in your individual way, because I know people are really working so hard. Now, I know we've got, and my colleague in the background is going to be able to play the little video clip of what we've done over the last year. So that should be coming into action at any second now. Hopefully. I can't believe that it's 2021. As well as you guys here, we've got a lot of people who are sitting at home or at work or in universities watching. So welcome to everybody who's come in to see us.
As the Chief Midwifery Officer, whilst I'm advising at lofty heights and supporting policy and everything else, and being a leader for our services in England, I also work clinically. So I just want you to know that I truly believe that to be an authentic leader, I have to walk and step in your shoes.
This is the pelvis. Now, this is what we're talking about right now, is nutation. Now, nutation is this is the sacrum here, and the nutation means it's nodding forward. Now, of course, I'm grossly exaggerating, but you can see what happens. It nods forward, and if it nods forward, it decreases the inlet, this part, the brim, because it's nodding forward. But it's increasing the outlet. And I remember as a midwife, I used to say to women, oh, don't worry, your pelvis is going to open. And I think, please don't ask me how, because I'm not quite sure. But it took me many years later and self-study to find out that actually nutation and counter-nutation is a thing. It's how the pelvis opens.
Now, preparation, what I would say is absolutely nothing prepared me for what happened for when I went into the clinic the next morning. And what I would say is I was brought to tears about 3 times during the clinic. And when we actually did the clinic the next morning, and you might remember on the news, this was when the bomb went off at the airport, and it actually went off in the middle of my clinic. And obviously women were getting notifications and were so worried about their family. And the level of kindness that I saw from the people inside the hotel that were trying to help the refugees, but also from the women themselves.
So when you see patients and you talk to them about the vaccine, how do you go about the counselling? So one way to approach this would be to talk about the benefits of the vaccination and then to talk about the risks. So the obvious benefit from the vaccination is that it protects you against COVID-19. But the other reassuring feature about the vaccines is that they are non-live. So the vaccines do not contain live COVID, and we have a lot of data on other non-live vaccines, such as pertussis, whooping cough, and the influenza vaccine, which is given every year. All non-live vaccines are safe to give in pregnancy. There is no data showing any harm from any other non-live vaccine. And there's no reason to suspect that the COVID vaccine will be any different to these other non-live vaccines.
A healthy baby is not all that matters in terms of a mother's mental health. Many women remark that when having a vaginal examination, the midwife will say, "Oh, I just did a sweep whilst I was examining you." My own experience was that I consented to a vaginal examination without realising what that actually entailed. I was very naive, and as the doctor inserted her entire hand into my vagina, at that stage, I immediately felt I'd lost all autonomy. At no point did I ever give informed consent to that. Please be the change. You are incredibly powerful people when somebody is at their most vulnerable. You can be the difference between walking out of the hospital mentally well and walking out with PTSD.
So what are the effects of unconscious bias on midwifery care? How do you think unconscious bias can affect the way we treat our women? So it can almost be a bit of a vicious cycle. So Black and brown women and birthing people are not treated with equity, leading to unacceptable levels of morbidity and mortality. They then become marginalised communities that become mistrusting of maternity services, and they might be reluctant to engage because their initial experience has been negative. We then label them as difficult and unwilling to engage, and the cycle of substandard care continues. So we put the blame on them. Oh, but they don't attend, they don't do this and they don't do that. But we forget about the fact that it's our bias that has actually made their care substandard. It's not enough not to be racist. You have to be, you have to do more than just saying, well, I'm not a racist. You have to push for change. You have to support us. You have to be our allies if you want things to change. Otherwise, they will stay exactly the same as they are.
I started by saying what we do ripples through generations. The environment in the womb now will influence whether that person, when they're an adult, will have coronary artery disease. Look up Barker's work if you don't know that work. What we do and say will ripple through generations. So it's our time now. And for every student midwife that's listening, junior or senior, do we do nothing? Do we do little? Do we do our best? I think that we are being our best, we are doing our best, and we are absolutely doing what's right.
And of course, that was lovely to see everything. That was just a little edited highlights. There'll be more later at a later point. But what I did forget was our Christmas quiz. We're having a little quiz with prizes, 2 prizes, and there's just 5 fairly simple questions, and they're going to be kind of multiple choice that you can go in for the competition. There's a little form at the bottom of the on the live feed. And here it is, and they'll be there available to answer. Okay, number 1, if you gave all the gifts listed in the 12 days of Christmas, how many would there be? All right, think on that. And that's the first day of Christmas my true love gave to me, that one. More babies are conceived at Christmas than any other time of year. You know, your midwives and student midwives, is that true or false? Which ocean is Christmas Island situated in? That's a bit trickier if you're not geographically competent like me. Never mind. If you were born on Christmas Day, what is your star sign? And in the classic Vicar of Dibley Christmas special, the Christmas lunch incident, how many Christmas dinners does Geraldine Granger have to eat? And then I want a little bit, what's your favourite thing about Christmas? That's all you need to do to get it into the chance of getting a prize. I believe there are 2 £25 vouchers up for grabs, but my guests are not eligible for any of them, I'm afraid, but they do know the answers. We checked.